Okay, great. So, good morning, everyone. Whoever has joined the call, and yeah, before we start today's session, firstly, I'd like to thank Bringle Academy for giving me this opportunity. And just to let you know a little bit about Bringle, Bringle is creating an exclusive global ecosystem for industry leaders, mentors, trainers, and business coaches who are passionate about changing the world for better. Now, providing a platform to subject matter experts and helping the world connect through a live digital platform is definitely worth an applause. Don't you think? My name is Bruhad Buch, and I am the founder of Oma Solutionists, with the tagline saying, Design your future with us. Now, being a design thinking practitioner, I started this own venture of mine to help individuals inculcate the mindset of a designer and design their life in a way that helps you to achieve your goals. Now, talking about designing your life, today we are going to speak about a very interesting concept which is called self management or think 3D. 3D is three dimensional. Now, you must have heard of time management, and you may have attended a lot of training programs on how to manage time, how to set your priorities right, how to get your to-do lists in place, and all of that. But does that really help in real life? Maybe, maybe not. So, how does it really help you to understand self-management? What is self-management? Now, what happens in self-management is you do not think on the transactional side. You give yourself the emotional space to give yourself more time. Now, how is this different? The way it is different is if you have decided to do something and spend time for it, you will definitely go ahead and do that. However, if a to-do list is forced upon you, if a priority list is forced upon you, if anything which is transactional on paper or on an email which is forced upon you, you may do it because it's a compulsion, but you will not really be full-fledged into it, or your heart will not be into it. So what happens at the end of the day is you start becoming a lot more unproductive. And that's where self-management comes in. When you give yourself the emotional space, what you do is you do an emotional prioritization versus a transactional prioritization. Okay. Now, what is transactional prioritization? Is you have 10 things on the to-do list. You pick up item number 9, put it on item number 2. The item number 2 goes down. So what you're really doing is just changing numbers. You're not doing anything other than changing numbers because the rest of the things remain the same. So end of the day, you may have all your to-do lists, you may have all your diaries that you maintain, you may have calendars in your Outlook that you maintain, but at the end of the day, you still struggle for time. And that's exactly where self-management comes in. You cannot solve today's problem with yesterday's thinking. And that's exactly what you are going to learn in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Now, if you have a pen and a paper with you, you may use that because that is going to be helping you in some or the other way to understand how you can implement self-management in your practical life. There are a few simple steps that you need to follow to master self-management. Now, the first thing you do is you look at the common problems that you face. Now, typically in the sessions that I conduct, people talk about stress, anxiety, overwhelm, running out of time, forgetting to do important things, too much work, routinely working on unimportant things, and most importantly, getting stuck in crisis mode. Now, these are some of the common problems that you face. Now, you can, of course, have more problems. These are the things that come out whenever we speak to anybody about time management problems, right? Now, what happens is you need to create a sheet with 24 blocks of 1 hour each and plot activities on that sheet of paper per hour. Now, you can include sleeping, brushing, bathing, traveling to work, work itself, movies, anything that you think. So you have a paper with 24 blocks of 1 hour each. And what you need to do is just start plotting your tasks over there. Okay. Now, it can be random or specific depending on what you really want to focus on. Now, put that sheet aside. Take another sheet, divide it into 8 equal parts. These 8 equal parts are career, finances, personal growth, fun and recreation, health, family and friends, physical environment, and love. Now you have 2 separate sheets with you. Start plotting your activities or tasks under each of these sections. Okay. Now, when you do that, please ensure that you go hour by hour and not do it as a lump sum piece. Why we do it hour by hour is for you to understand where you are spending most of your time in. Okay. Now, once you have plotted all your activities, okay, try and highlight those that take maximum time out of your life. Now, here you need to go as micro as possible. Something like time spent on social media, chatting, tea, coffee breaks, anything that you think is a part and parcel of your life, you need to start highlighting those pieces. Try to go through every minute detail possible. So now what you have is 2 sheets, one with the 24-hour piece and one with the 8 themes, with all the micro activities kept in there. Now, what will happen is when you have highlighted those 3 or 4 themes, you will notice that you are spending a lot of time on activities under some specific themes. Tick mark those or highlight them with a color. Now, in these top 3 themes, you can exclude your sleeping hours. You may be sleeping 6, 7, 8 hours in a day, so you can exclude those. But you should typically have around 20 to 25 activities. That's generally what we've seen after you do the highlighting. You can have less, but typically you see that you will have around 20 to 25 activities. Now, once all of this is done, keep the entire piece in front of you. Okay. Now, you need to focus on what I'm going to be saying now, because what I'm going to be saying now will probably change your life for good, right? Now, what you have to do is you need to think about Mr. Covey's 2D matrix. He introduced us to the matrix, which is importance and urgency, right? Now, importance typically means how much does it matter, and urgency means how soon does it matter. Now, you can always check out the priority matrix on Google and you can start plotting your activities over there in the 4 quadrants. Okay. Now, the first quadrant is typically high importance, high urgency. The second quadrant is high importance, low urgency. Quadrant 3 is low importance, high urgency. And 4th quadrant is low importance, low urgency. Now, it will be very easy for you to plot these activities over there because end of the day, they are your activities, right? Now, what happens when you use a priority matrix is it looks good because end of the day, you are being able to see something visually. However, your thinking gets restricted to these when something urgent comes up. Let's take an example of your boss coming in and saying, boss, फटाफट कर दो काम, ये अभी का अभी चाहिए, बहुत ही urgent है. So what you do is you leave your work aside and you start working on those things. So what happens to your to-do list, it keeps increasing and the urgent tasks keep happening. Because for the person who's giving you or delegating those tasks to you, they are not really important or urgent for them at that point in time. But they want to make it urgent so that they can get things and they can be ready with themselves. So what do you do then? You keep jumping on to finish the urgent ones, or you focus on your particular tasks. This is where I introduce you to the 3rd dimension, which is the Think 3D concept, which is called as the significance dimension. Now, the significance dimension says, how long will it matter? So importance was how much does it matter? Urgency was how soon does it matter? And significance is how long will it matter? Now, when you think 3Ds, when you've plotted everything on your 2D sheet, pick up those activities from quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, which is high importance, high urgency, and high importance, low urgency, and see how many of those activities are really going to help you in the long run. Tick mark those activities. What you realize is when you segregate these activities, you will not get more than 10 to 15% of the activities that you've listed down that are really significant. Now, if you get more, then that's great. You're doing a great job. However, what happens here is typically you get around 10 to 15%, and you always feel that if only these 10 to 15% are really significant, what am I doing with the rest of my time? Where is the other 85% going? Now, when you start thinking like this and you say, how can I convert that 15% into 85%? You are thinking like something called as a time multiplier. Now, what is a time multiplier, or who's a time multiplier, and how a time multiplier thinks? A time multiplier thinks in this fashion: what can I do today that will give me more time tomorrow in multiple pieces of time? Now, let me give you a very simple scenario. In one of the sessions that I was conducting, we realized that the team is spending around 20 hours a week on data entry. So it's a 40-hour week. They're spending around 50% of their time on data entry. This obviously leads to loss of productive hours. Now, they never seem to have time to do anything other than data entry, because that was their primary objective. Now, they get mentally and physically tired, and they're also very bored of monotony, because they've been doing the same thing over and over and over for multiple months and all that. Now, this being the scenario, you may come up with solutions saying, we use SAP, we use Oracle, we use other ERP systems, or we use macro-enabled Excel sheets and all of that. But you still end up spending more time on data, don't you? Now, how multiplier thinks is, can I invest those 20 to 40 hours at a stretch, at a lump sum, okay, and build a system that helps me save at least 10 hours per week going forward? Now, listen to this very, very carefully. Can I spend those 20 to 40 hours in at a stretch and get 10 hours per week more in the coming 6 months? Now, do the maths. Okay. Now, if you're looking at a period of 6 months, you're typically currently spending around 480 hours, 20 hours a week, typically 80 hours a month, 6 months, 480. Simple mathematics. Correct? Now, if you use the multiplier way, what you end up doing is you spend 40 hours at a stretch, and the next 6 months, you are spending 10 hours a week, which means you're spending around 40 hours a month, which gives you around 240 hours. So 240 plus 40, you're actually spending only 280 hours in 6 months, which, my dear friends, you get approximately more than 40 hours in a month to be more productive. Don't you think it is fantastic and fascinating? Absolutely, it's fascinating. The next question you will ask is, Bruhad, how do I ensure that I become a time multiplier? Or how do I think like a time multiplier? And the answer is pretty simple. I am going to introduce you to a concept which is called as the attention funnel. Now, the attention funnel goes through 3 typical steps. Step number 1 is eliminate. Step number 2 is automate. And step number 3 is delegate. Now, when you have this funnel, start putting your tasks in through the first module or the first step. How many tasks from the ones that you have actually plotted down on your 2D graph or on your 24-hour sheet, you can eliminate them completely? Jitna bhi remaining aapka bacha hai, go to the next step. How many of them can you actually automate? Now, these can be macro-enabled Excel sheets. You can use offline or online tools. That's absolutely up to you. Okay. Once you finish, what is it that you can automate? Go to the third step. What is it that you can delegate? Now, if you are an individual contributor, it will be very difficult for you to gauge what is it that you can delegate. But you can still think about things that you can probably do a peer delegation. Or if you still cannot do delegate, you still have automate for you. Once it goes through these 3 steps, you will get certain activities that are there with you. Out of that, choose 2 ways or 2 directions that you can go. One is concentrate on the task and finish it off. Pure concentration in finishing it off. Or consciously choose another date wherein you will actually go and finish that task. Now, that is called procrastination on purpose. And it's different from procrastination. It's not really laziness, but you have given yourself a commitment that you will be finishing it on this particular time. Once you do this, you need to do this every week for the next 3 months. Once you do it for the next 3 months, what you realize is you get more than 25% productive time for doing things that you were really passionate about, or the things that you could not imagine that you can do. Now, be it workplace or be it your personal life, this attention funnel really, really helps you. And when you finish all these things, what you realize is you emerge as a more productive person, and you actually emerge as a time multiplier. Remember, you cannot solve today's problems with yesterday's thinking. And that, my dear friends, is something that you need to keep in mind. Become a multiplier and think 3D. 3D, the three-dimensional piece, is important, urgent, and significant. Now, with this piece, I'd like to end this session and thank all of you for being a part of this live session. You can always connect with me by going to www.bringleacademy.com, go to the mentor section, search for Bruhad Buch, and book a comfortable slot with me. I'll be glad to assist you in becoming a time multiplier. Remember, time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. Have a great day, friends. Cheers. Thanks a lot.